Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. This is From the Depths, and this complete mess of a ship I am on is actually a test ship I've used just to keep it afloat, put alloys, to test fuel engines after the last video, finding out some of the issues, what I can do with efficiency and space density of a fuel engines compared to steam engines, and I'm finding that a good efficient, a good dense fuel engine can be in the region of 55 times more efficient than the best steam engine that I can create. So we'll be modifying ships to move to fuel almost exclusively. There is some use cases for steam, but they are very subjective and, or situational, should I say, not subjective, very situational and just more theme-based, which is what I have built so far with the ships. So they have been based upon steam-driven ships, so they did have those disadvantages those ships had in real life. Anyway, in this particular video, I'm going to start building a new ship, and the intention at the moment is to go for something cruiser-like, using the more efficient engines in general. That's the intention. So we're going to go for a cruiser. Now, it's not based directly on a real-life counterpart, because we're going to sort of do a bit of a mix and match of styles, but it will have the role that the original cruisers would have had. That role did change over time. About there, I think. So, early cruisers in design, early cruisers, their main role was as a long-range projection of power for the various naval forces in the world. And early on, they weren't that impressive, really. There was more than two types. There was generally two types. There was protected cruisers and armoured cruisers. The protected cruisers were fairly lightly armoured, fairly lightly armed, really just for more local defence rather than anything larger. And then you had your armoured cruisers. Now, your armoured cruisers could be as big as a battleship. Not quite as physically, but not quite as armoured, but a lot more armoured. They were properly armoured, and they could take on most cruisers that they would be expecting to meet in battle. But they were fast enough to be able to outrun any enemy battleships that may come after them. So they were, fast enough, but without being fast enough to run away from those that they could not destroy, basically. Weapons-wise, they had heavy but not battleship level guns. They only still had cruiser level guns in general. These were not what later became a battle cruiser. The battle cruiser was quite a different design and ethic. These were designed for long range, look after, say, an area of the sea where the nation wanted some sort of protection, for want of a better word, and just basically control that area. World War II cruisers did tend to change somewhat, in that there was a lot of treaties came in that defined size of guns, size of ships, but they still had the same basic, let's say ethos. Yeah, we'll use ethos for want of a better word at the moment. The same idea of having speed and long range and able to take on smaller ships and run away from the big ships. So it was still a long range ship, not a in the line of battle type of ship. So anyway, the model I'm going to try and follow with this ship is going to be looking at a long range, relatively resource efficient with the new engine styles, reasonably armoured. So I'm going to armour this up so it's on par with some of the battleships, so it can take on Onyx Watch smaller ships, as such. We'll armour the outside of this up once we've got some more of the inside built up. But generally it's just going to be a long range efficient ship. Now, I was thinking about pocket battleships and elements like that. Well, heavy cruisers, pocket battleships, they're a whole different style of ship, for want of a better word. They've got their own problems and own ideas and own issues, for want of a better word. So I'm not going to go for a pocket battle, but this will have some big guns, but it's mainly going to be a missile cruiser. So that's where I'm mixing a little bit. We're going to go on the basis of an armoured cruiser, long range, fairly heavy armour, fairly large, but going to have some large guns and lots of missiles. The other bit I'm going to look at on this will be the engine efficiency, in that I'm going to look at two sides. One is engine efficiency and the other is power management. So some of the engine efficiency isn't going to be a matter of just making the most efficient engine. What you can do is manage the power of the ship more efficiently, and that's what I'm going to be looking at. How to create a power management system for the ship that will regulate the power so that the engines, which I then put in, will not be using quite so much power all the time. That's the plan. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm going to get on with the build, and I will stop it at some various points where I think it's interesting, primarily with the power systems and some of the missile systems, when I'm looking at which missiles and why I'm going to put certain missile systems into the ship. So speak to you in a bit. I'm now at the stage to start thinking about the main power for the ship and set something up here, because also looks wise I'm going to have a funnel, I think, coming up here, or maybe two funnels, because we're going to have two engines. So the idea at the moment is, or the plan, is that the ship is going to need long range, but power to power some small amount of shields during battle. Now I think I'll keep the power of shields and under battle conditions to say a maximum of about 3,000 power. So that'll be minor shields, maybe just in key areas rather than everywhere, and keep propulsion giving out enough power. And in cruising mode, I would expect the power to be possibly as low as 200-300, potentially during cruising mode. And there is, I'm going to look at the power management, which is what all these control blocks here are going to be, which is going to manage the power at different ranges and different states. So I'm going to look at that after I've done the engines. So the range at, let's say, maximum shields, maximum speed, doing everything around 3 to 4,000 power. So, okay, the plan then is to have two engines. The first engine is going to be not fuel efficient. This is going to be the power engine. So this is basically going to produce as much power as possible in a small space. Now I've got a couple of designs that I like. One was a rotary engine. If I've got enough room, I think I should have. For this, you start a little higher. So the idea of this particular one is to get as many injectors in a small space as possible. So this is in no way designed to be fuel efficient. Still more fuel efficient than a steam engine, but it's only to be running at the maximum time, at the maximum battle system. So we're going to go there. We'll see what we get with 4. So and then we put a cylinder on each side, including underneath. So this is like a rotary engine, almost like one of the aircraft engines. Now an injector has, you can see on there that it has 2 connections. So if we line it up just right, so you'll see here this is showing as having 2 fuel injectors, and that's showing as 1 until I do the same underneath. Let's turn it the right way around. So that's now going to give us a maximum power output of 6,400, which is actually way more than I need. So I could actually just take down one of the levels. There we go. So that's down to 4,800. Okay, that's going to be good enough. Now we'll just, and that's quite dense. Now, one thing this will need, this is going to need some radiators. First of all, we'll put some exhausts on this. Let's see, why are we going to do this? We'll start with, we'll have all the exhausts coming out to one pipe, and there is a good reason for that. So we'll have them all circle around to the top, just to, could do this slightly more efficiently, I think, but this should do, and it will look reasonable, I think, once I have finished. So now all those exhausts are coming out at one pipe, and we can redirect that out up top and make a little funnel area, I think, just to fits over, just to keep it in keeping, in theme, shall we say, with the ship and the design. So we'll have a funnel come up there for where the exit is. That'll also be good if ever we do come across something with infrared missiles. It will go for the top of the funnel, which will be handy rather than the core of the ship. So yeah, that will go up. Now, one thing I haven't done and do need to do, because this is going to need quite a bit of radiator coverage. So I'm just going to use a large radiator here, and even that I don't think will be enough. I'm going to need small radiators as well, and basically I'm just going to put them fairly much everywhere on this, because I know, having done some testing, now you can go sideways around the corner with a radiator. All you need to do is put the back onto the side, and then you can join these up at the angle. Let's just put one of those in there. So theoretically, these have got no airflow, but the game doesn't care, so we should be okay. Now we'll see how that happens in once we've got some power. We generate some power. Now we will have to change these settings to make sure that the other engine ramps up first and this second. So we'll do that once we've created the second engine. So now the second engine is going to be a purely efficient engine. Now there is a couple of ways of doing this. I'd like to get about, say, 600 to 1,000 power out of it at 100%. Now it will still need to run at 100% RPM and relatively efficiently. Now I have got a super efficient engine that I have set up for, but it takes quite a lot of space up, and I don't feel I've got enough space here. So I'm going to do a slightly less efficient, but power-wise, but more efficient. So this is the cruising engine. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to use adapters, I think, on this one. So put some cylinders in. So it's going to be a mix. We're not going to have a totally... It's using carburetors rather than injectors. So with carburetors, I can put turbos and superchargers in there. I'll put those on the end. I might not need those on the end. Yeah, we'll put those on the end as well. And then these ones on the edge. Oops, that one's in the wrong place. Just there. Okay, so what this will be, that the important bit here is the turbochargers, because the turbos are going to need to be inline and feed off of the exhaust. This is where a bit of working out the damn plumbing, it's a plumbing nightmare at times, working out efficient fuel engines. That's why if you do use those ones where someone's already worked it out for you, it's of great advantage. But I'm going to do it from scratch because reasons. Okay, so easiest way is start with the first turbo, because the first turbo's got to be powered by this exhaust system, and then it's going to power this let's see, it's going to power into the side of this carburetor, which will then go into this carburetor here, 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 here. Okay, yep. So some except for the center ones, each of the carburetors will have a turbo going into it. And I think I might be able to just want to change one little bit before I go too far. Let's see. exhaust is going to have to come out and go into a turbo into the side of here. So we need a, let's say, corner here and then corner like that, and then go for a non-inline. Okay, so that's powering that and putting turbo into there. So next we can have a turbo on the end. So if we put a corner straight from that turbo, and let's make sure that that is feeding that. Yeah, that's okay. Then that turbo is going to be fed. So now we've got to replicate these parts on each of them, because that's going to be similar in each instance. This is where there's going to be a change, because I want this exhaust to join up with this one before going into the turbo. So I can, on here, take it up, change this one, and change the turbo type on each of these. Let's see, is that actually okay? Yep, that's okay, and I can do the same on that one. Okay, so that's the basics of it set up with the inline. So these are basically all inline turbos. So just about every carburetor has an inline turbo, and all the plumbing is going one way. Now this is where it becomes non-symmetrical, because what you can do is take the last output. So we're going to take this last output here, and then we're going to, make sure I leave room for my superchargers. So let's put the superchargers in where we can. I might see if I can fit some more in somewhere else later. Right, now I'm going to see if there's anything else. Let's see. I'm going to run this pipe to the center, to the back to the front. There we go, and here. And then we're going to run it to join with this pipe here. So we'll change that to a three-way. Where are we? Where are we? One, two, I need a junction pipe. Yep, that'll do. And then put two corners in, corner and corner. So now the exhaust starts at this cylinder, goes down these turbos, comes all the way back to the center, and then goes through all these turbos, eventually coming out here. So what we will do is, so this will be the main exit of the exhaust pipe. And make that come out here. Having a moment. So that's the exhaust exit. Okay, maybe actually that's using up a bit too much space. Let's bring that up here, I think, instead. There we go. So that's the exhaust effectively for this point. Now there is one further extra we will do on this once I have, we'll give these engines a quick little test now. So first thing we're going to need is some fuel. So for the moment, and I'm just going to use some fuel up here. I'll find somewhere better for the fuel later on, I think. Where should I put some? I think down here might be okay. Let's actually put my mirror line on now, although this is just temporary. Okay, now what we'll do is put a shield projector on, just as a simple way of generating some power usage. So let's say we want to move this up, say to about 600. There we go. So we can now check these engines out. So this engine is providing 403 of the power, but we don't want that one to turn on straight away, and this one is producing how much of the power? Is producing 202 out of it. It's actually quite, it actually ended up quite powerful, but you can already see this has got a power to per fuel of 198, and this one is 102. So first of all, we don't want this one to ramp up very quickly. So we want the ramp up high. We also want it to stop being used as quick as possible. So we set that high. So this will decay very quickly, and we want the responsiveness of this engine to be very low. So we'll set that to about 1, and we won't worry about battery charge, but otherwise that's okay. Now we then need to do the reverse on this engine. So we want the ramp up time to be very quick, the decay to be very slow. Let's see, about there. The responsiveness to be very good, 1, and again battery charge, we haven't got any batteries. Let me just check what I did for responsiveness. Yeah, okay. So now if we cut that power and restart it, what we should find is that this engine is now only producing 48, so it's hardly adding any power to this, so that's okay. And most of the energy is being created by this engine, which is up to power per fuel of 206, which is good. So Now we can just test what is the power at very low usage. So let's just set this down to say 200. This should have gone, yes, almost hardly anything, 106, but hardly any power being produced. And this one, still 204, which is okay at these low revs, not as good as I would like. I can mostly put some more superchargers in various places. Okay, let's go the opposite side. What about full power? Let's say 5,000. Right, so the engines are working hard. Let's just see, make sure they're all okay. So this is producing 2000. It's got a power per fuel of 143, which isn't 142, and the engines, I haven't added any radiators in yet. So let me add some radiators in, that will help with that. Let's cut the noise. Okay, temperatures are a little better, 152 at full power, which is okay. Could be better, but it's okay. But that's producing 2,300 power, and it's going maximum. How about this? So this is still actually only at 0.3 power. Only producing 1,200, but you can see it's 93 fuel. Let's see how much power we can get out of these. It seems to be 6,500. I'll bring the noise down, I think, in editing. And we can now see this one is now producing maximum RPM, but only at 63 fuel. But temperatures on all the cylinders, okay, 60%. If we take the power down again now to, say, the 2,000 mark, 2,000, we should see that the high, yes, this has now gone down to only providing 45 of the power, and this should be providing all the rest. Yep, 155, and then let's say it goes back down to station level, which is we'll take it down for this one, which is going to be, say, around 600. Let's say 200. There we go. You might not be able to hear it, but I can hear the engine now revving down. You can see it slowly revving down to a more fuel efficient state. So this engine is, with the decay rate, slowly changes, so it will always use this engine if at all possible. Right, there is going to be now one other little change I'm going to do, which is a little sneak that you can do as well, and that is I might not do it on this one. You can redirect the exhaust from this engine into this engine, which will then increase the efficiency of this engine even further. But I think for theme's sake, I think I might hold off on that on this time for no apparent reason. Okay, I'm going to put the fuel into this area as well. I'm going to have the fuel storage, I think, around. I might leave those blocks where they are. They are armoured, so they have to go through a lot to get through to these fuel beams. So they might actually be okay where they are for the moment. But I might put some more fuel just as a extra fuel in here. So I have set up Skipper missiles as the primary long-range missile for the system, and I just thought I'd explain the good points and why I use these, and they're a little interesting. So they're using a propeller and a ballast tank, so they skip out of the water. Now the primary here is that they only use fuel when they're in the water. So every time they skip, they coast, and then they'll get a little bit more propel, come out the water, and they'll skip. Now you can change the skip level by the ballast tank, and that will determine how high they skip out the water. So I've set it 2 so they don't skip too high. Now this gives these particular ones a range of about 6,000 meters. 5,000 is adequate. Another advantage is these hit at the waterline, or close to the waterline. So fragmentation, EMP will hit at the waterline, which may be the thickest area, but another point over sonar is active radar tends to go for the centre of the biggest part of the target. So all the missiles will hit in roughly the same area. Sonar tends to go for a random block and can hit just separates its damage all over. So I tend to find these will hit at the waterline, all in the relative centre or similar point of the ship. The other one is they can sometimes go underneath a lamp system. If a lamp system's set quite high on the ship, it will sometimes not see the missiles because they're sea skimming. I also set these up because these are as close as I can get to the type of harpoon exocet type of missile. No, that's where I was basing on, and they're quite good fun. So anyway, that's the long-range missiles that the ship will use. So I have most of the fences and the shape of the ship now done. I'm relatively happy with it. I think I need to sort out a little bit more storage. I've put no resources in here yet, and I need to sort out a little bit more ammo, but otherwise we're okay. Now you may be able to hear the engines are going full pelt at the moment, so first thing we need to do now is look at how we can set up some power management. So under the bridge here, I've moved it to under here because we've got some more space. We need to think about what situations require different power levels. So let's just start with a simple one, which is the shields running at full pelt at the moment. So if we find shields, and let's say we want to set the drive factor to be 0, delay it for a couple of seconds, and that is if there is no enemy at all, within 3,000 meters. I think 3,000 is okay. So that's immediately going to have turned off all the shields because there's no one in range, basically. So you might as well turn the shields off. And you can hear the engine's gone down and the power usage has significantly decreased. Okay, so now we need to think about the opposite. So if we just copy that, we want to say, and then paste it, we want to say if, and this is where we can be a little bit more, adjust it to what is in range. So we can say if someone is in range, set it to, we might not want to go all the way up, maybe set it at half value. So the shields are not on full, they're just, because there's no point in having the shields on full unless someone is firing at you. But you do want to stop the shields close to, if you can intercept the shell before it gets to you, then great. So okay, that's using a little bit more power. Let's just have a look what power we are using. 7, yeah, okay, not too bad. Just a little bit of power compared to that. If there's an issue right now, we could say, let's say someone's firing at us. So we've taken damage. So what we could do is say if ourselves, the vehicle health is from 99, so we've taken 1% of damage, so not just a little bit, to say 95 isn't acceptable, maybe 95 to, or maybe even 90, it says 90. No, yeah, to 90. Then set the shields up to full. So that will set the shields up to as high as possible if we've taken a little bit of damage. And we can say, like, set an emergency one here as well. So we can say copy that, have that set at 0, and then paste this in here. So if it's from 90 down to, say, if we've taken more than 50% damage, we're dead in the water. So we'll say 50, then set our value to 1.5. Let's max it out. We want the maximum amount of shields. And we want that to override any other system. So that would bring up the shields. And can't see it at the moment because obviously it's going to be overridden by the other block. Right, let's just, another side is propulsion. We'll do that over this side. So we can mostly copy this one to a degree. So if there is no enemies in range, no enemy, there is no enemy at all. If there is no enemy within at all, then propulsion, we find propulsion components set at half speed. There we go. So that will means we will go at a slower speed. Now we'll just set that, try that by setting myself a waypoint.
Listening. Moving out. Moving out.
So that will put us down to 10 speed and obviously reduce our power usage considerably. Now obviously we can reverse that, paste that in here and say if there is an enemy, then set propulsion to 100 straight away. And then that will put us up to our full speed of 15. Roughly 15, the ship has got a speed up. Let's see, what else could we do that's got power? We haven't created any processors, but that is also a good point. So ammo processors. We'll do them in here. So if we copy over this one here, which is no enemy. So we can say if there is, first one, if there is no enemy, then ammo producers, where are we? Ammo processors, there we go. Turn off. Happens straight away. So if there is no enemy within range, turn off. The other one with ammo producers is if the ammo is above 50%, so from 50 to no limit, then turn off as well. And the reverse, if the ammo is very low, so it's gone down to say 10%, turn on. So that will save resources as well as power. So that's, but they're both power management. Now we have got a few blocks left we could do. I'm trying to think of anything else that would require power, and that's about it really at this moment. So next is I just want to sort out the resources, and I also feel like adding some sort of, I was thinking of a torpedo launcher, but we might leave it as it is. See how it performs before I add anything else on the surface. And yeah, give it a little bit of a combat test. I'll give it some. I need some more ammo. I think we need in here, and some resources for repairs, things like that. Anyway, back in a minute. For those that may have skipped straight to the combat testing section, this is the Town Class Cruiser, as I'm calling it. For the moment, we'll come up with some names when we spawn it in. So now it is time to combat test against the Onyx, which and I haven't tested any yet. So we'll start off with a simple ship and work up. So nice simple bastion just as a starting point. See how the shots are coming in. Squash headshots are hitting okay. Accuracy is not too bad. Fire rate is reasonable. Missiles a little short. I need to just adjust those a little bit for the missile system. Either adjust their speed to make them travel the right distance, maybe is easier. Yep, definitely has to adjust their speed. Missiles are now hitting okay, and everything seems to be doing a bit of damage. Possibly it's getting a little close, so I will adjust the navigation range, which I may not have set so far. So first combat was okay. We'll go against something a little bit bigger. So a Warden's quite a good little test. It's a biggish ship. Certainly got more potential to damage us if it hits, which is good to test if the damage systems work. So at the moment we're still in low power mode. It's going at 15 meters a second, which is okay speed-wise, so the speed has picked up. We haven't got hit yet, I don't think. Ammo seems to be okay. It's always difficult with ammo, especially with missiles. Missiles are very ammo hungry. Skipper missiles, some of them hit, some of them bypass there. Maybe a little close for skipper missiles, potentially. They are targeting the ship, okay. It could be that they're not quite turning in. They are hitting okay. It might be better to leave them just for longer range targets and concentrate on the shorter range missiles. This is all part of testing, really. So the Warden's pretty much been obliterated, just needs a little bit of work. Okay. In general, a couple of little tweaks here and there, maybe for the missiles, but otherwise, I'm relatively happy with the ship. It moves okay. It's got reasonable speed. Yeah, I'm okay with it in general. I think the guns do work. They're not brilliant guns. It just needs a bit of a paint job. I was thinking of torpedoes, but I think I'll leave the torpedoes for the frigate. It's got a bit... One thing I haven't put on the guns is recoil absorbers. Thinking about it, that's one thing I need to sort out. That could be one of the reasons why it's tipping over a bit. I didn't put any recoil absorbers on there. Anyway, let me sort that out, give it a paint, and then I will bring it into the campaign. But as always, any comments, leave down below. I think it's a reasonable look at the fuel engines. It didn't use too much fuel in that combat. It's gone down to a normal, slower 10 meters a second speed, which is good, and the shields would have turned off. So it didn't use too much fuel, which is good. Anyway, until next time, keep playing the game and have fun.